Joe, receivers, I told you to pick 2. I already forgot one of who you picked, but why don't you throw the first guy out that you wanted to talk about?
I feel is this one that you don't like?
Yeah.
Are you mad at what's that?
Yeah, I don't like this one.
You don't like this because you wanted to have it, or you don't like this one because you think it's a bad choice?
It wouldn't have been my choice.
Oh, well, let's go. Talking about Jahan Dotson from the Commanders. He's still here, man. First round pick 2 years ago. Plenty of flashes as a rookie. What'd you say?
Said should not have been a first round pick.
Well, hater. This is great. I'm glad that we have this ammunition going into the season so I can monitor this and remind you.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Breakout candidates, Joe. I kind of know who your guys are. I did not arm you with who my guys are.
All right, that should be fun.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? How about you? We're going to do like a QB, a running back, a couple receivers, and a tight end, each of us. So let's start there. Why don't you throw out a QB and we'll talk about him.
All right. Here's the thing about QBs is that I feel like the inventory is pretty light on guys that I feel good about breaking out. And I know to the dismay of you, I feel like Jordan Love's already broken out. So I stayed away from that. The guy that I want to settle in on is a team that, while we've not done a ton of episodes of this podcast, if there's anything we have done, it's hype up the Indianapolis Colts a little bit. And so I'm going to lean into Anthony Richardson as my breakout quarterback candidate. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I think I'll start with the skill set of Anthony Richardson. He doesn't have any limitations. He has access to the entire field as a thrower and obviously a big dynamic runner of the football. The real challenge here is staying healthy, and obviously he's an under-repped player both at the college and pro level. But I get excited about Shane Steichen. And when I think about the offense that he was able to engineer this past season with the Colts, with Gardner Minshew primarily as a quarterback, with the injuries that they sustained throughout that football team and on the offensive side of the football, Jonathan Taylor, really wasn't Jonathan Taylor for a lot of that season, still trying to sort out their weapons. And he got a lot out of that unit. And then you go back to Philly and what he got out of Jalen Hurts and how Jalen Hurts looked without Shane Steichen. Gets me excited for the future there with Anthony Richardson and that pairing, but also the offensive line, right? You talk about football still won in the trenches and you need O-line play. And I think that this Colts offensive line is going to give Anthony Richardson a real opportunity to be successful back there. They'll be able to run the football with Jonathan Taylor. And I think that's going to put Anthony Richardson in a great opportunity to be a dual threat quarterback, to win in the play action game. And those are areas where you feel like he can be really successful. And I like the weapons that he has more right now than, of course, I did last year with Michael Pittman back and a handsomely paid wide receiver now. They got A.D. Mitchell in the second round. And I feel like there's you can have questions about A.D. Mitchell, but you can't question the talent. And I think he's in a great spot to unlock that. Josh Downs in year 2. Welcome back Jelani Woods after really flashing as a rookie, missing last season. Healthy Jonathan Taylor. I feel like it's a great situation for Anthony Richardson to really be successful. And, if the reps and being kind of just a player that has limited experience aren't too much to overcome, I think he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, so you stole the quarterback I wanted to do. And I really feel like when I scoured the league for breakout candidate quarterbacks, he's the glaringly obvious one. The one I get to, the one that I picked, we'll get to in a minute, is sort of cheating, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But Richardson, the things he does well translate immediately to the Shane Steichen offense, and I think that's what really excites me. The one thing I will say about him is he does have to overcome a little bit of accuracy concerns. That was true coming out, and then even last year, I think in the 4 games he played or whatever, his accurate ball rate was, his catchable ball rate was 71%, which would have ranked him, down in the 30s among like 50 eligible QBs with like 75 dropbacks. So that's not great. It's also a really, really, really small sample size. So as that season went on, I'd like to think that that would have got better. I think Steichen's going to do a really good job of giving him some layups and some easier throws. Yep. Try to build that confidence, get the ball moving, that way. He has a really good situation as well with the offensive line. You mentioned the pass catchers, the run game. So I definitely think he is the breakout candidate to watch. I think you and I both picked him to be the the comeback player of the year, right?
Oh, I don't know if I'd say that. I think there's too many candidates. I think between Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers,
Sure.
yeah, I don't know. It would be tough.
Okay. Well, that said, I like your pick, so I can't disagree with it. I think all the writing is on the wall for him to be awesome, especially with what he does in the run game. It's so powerful, you know. The quarterback I picked, Joe, and you're going to be so mad at me because we did exchange texts about this guy, and it's Jordan Love.
Oh, you did it! Wow. I know this feels like a hedge, Brett. I feel like you've been really just kind of not wanting to buy in on Jordan Love. And now here you are. I'll give you the floor. I'll get out of the way. I want to hear what you have to say. But
it's always been a wait and see thing for me because Jordan Love has played 7 good games in the NFL, and we'll get to I have a slew of numbers from the Fantasy Points data suite that just blew me away, and I didn't want to pick him because it is cheating a little bit because he does have those 7 games under his belt, so he kind of broke out at the end of last year. However, my other options were like Bryce Young, which we've already waxed poetically about. Well, I did at least. Not him, the situation. Yeah. Will Levis, I'm not calling a breakout there. He's got an improved situation as well, but I saw enough on tape that scared me to death last year. So I don't necessarily want to do that. And then I'm like into the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert angle, which is kind of trolling the masses because people already think those guys are good. So I don't know. I didn't know what to do. So I went with Jordan Love. And here's why, Joe. Weeks 1 through 11 last year, he was bad. He was objectively bad at quarterback. I went on every Fantasy Points podcast we had. I was on John Hanson's show every Wednesday morning talking about how bad Jordan Love was playing. Here's some of his ranks using the Fantasy Points data suite. 18th in catchable ball rank, weeks 1 through 11. 76.4%. 18th in accurate ball rate. And so when we talk about accuracy, like accurate ball, that's your high-end bucket throws where you're perfectly putting the ball on the receiver's hands. You're locating that ball to the highest degree. 51% there. He ranked 21st. This is out of 35 eligible QBs, by the way. 21st in off-target percentage. 26th in turnover-worthy throw rate. 4.4%. He was turning the ball over. His touchdown interception ratio was 16-10 those first 11 weeks of the season, and just an 84.1 passer rating. And then on Thanksgiving Day against the Detroit Lions, Jordan Love decided, I'm the freaking man. And from week 12 through 18, Joe, 3rd in catchable ball rate, up from 18th, 79.9%. 7th in accurate ball rate, up from 18th, 54.4%. 4th in off-target throw percentage, up from 21st at 14.2%. 2nd in turnover-worthy throw percentage, and this is probably the biggest improvement point for Jordan Love, is he stopped turning the ball over. He went from 26th in turnover-worthy throw rate for the first 11 weeks of the season to 2nd. Only one quarterback, I think it was Brock Purdy, protected the ball at a higher rate than Jordan Love did. 1.3% turnover-worthy throw rate for those final 8 weeks. 16-1 touchdown interception ratio, 113.5 passer rating. And then on top of all that, Joe, when you put on the tape, you saw a guy who looked like he had his coming out party. Like he looked the part. Other than that, the final game against San Francisco, I think he got away with some things there. Both quarterbacks did, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. He was pretty much awesome. Like it reminded me of Mahomes' second season, where he just absolutely blew the doors off everyone. So yeah, big fan of Jordan Love.
Yeah, I'm in on Jordan Love, and I think one of the reasons that you could point to for the gradual ascension here, and of course you mentioned a kind of a struggle there to start the season. Think about the pass catchers, right? I mean, right now we look at Green Bay as having a ton of youth and quality when it comes to their receiving options, but going into the season, I mean, you're talking about 2 rookies and 2 second-year players at wide receiver and a couple of rookie tight ends. I mean, I think it's a big ask of a developing quarterback to be surrounded by developing weapons. And again, we look at that differently now that the season has played out. You feel like maybe Green Bay has the deepest collection of talented young pass catchers in the NFL, but that had to come to fruition. And I think it makes sense that it took some time. It took a little bit of a ramp up for Jordan Love to kind of reach that peak, but now the expectations are high, and boy, oh boy, if he replicates that second half for an entire season, this guy's going to be a dude in the NFL. if he's not already.
All right, we're going to get into the rest of our breakout candidates, but before we do, we have to take a short break. All right, Joe, I also cheated a second time. You said maybe look at some of the rookie quarterbacks if you can't find a guy you like. And so I also picked another one. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about J.J. McCarthy, but I do want to mention, I think as far as the rookie quarterbacks go, I think he's in line for a nice breakout. When you look at the situation he has to deal with, he has a top 3 offensive tackle duo in the NFL and really good pass catchers. So you're talking about a guy who's going to get protected in the dropping back, not going to take a lot of sacks or hits, and then he's got really good pass catchers to throw to. I feel really good about J.J. McCarthy breaking out. He was also my QB1 of the draft, and we can leave it at that.
I'm excited for J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. I think that's a good call out. We're ready to just go to running backs here? Is that the position you'd like to go to next?
Throw your running back.
And when I shared my answers with you, and again, I don't know your answers, you felt some type of way about my guys. And I didn't feel like that was with Anthony Richardson. I think it was with the rest of them. So I'm guessing this will be met with maybe some resistance for you. But my running back is Zamir White from the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the opportunity for him in Vegas is so good. Josh Jacobs out, and obviously he's been a high-volume ball carrier for that football team. And we know what this team wants to be under Antonio Pierce. They want to be physical and run the football. And I think their quarterback situation certainly suggests that being necessary for that to be part of their winning formula this coming season. And so a run-heavy team with a clear path to opportunity. Josh Jacobs out. The only addition that they made at the running back position was Alexander Mattison, and I think Alexander Mattison stinks out loud. I don't think there's any meaningful competition for carries in Vegas in terms of taking away from Zamir White other than, hey, we just need a breather here.
Well, hold on. What have you seen from Zamir White that says he is significantly better than Alexander Mattison?
I'm glad you asked me that, Brett Whitefield, because the last 4 weeks of 2023 happened. The last 4 weeks where he was the lead back, he was third in the last 4 weeks of the season in rushing yards. He had 200-yard games against the Chiefs in Denver. He averaged 114 scrimmage yards in those 4 games. He's 24 years old, 6 foot 215, loaded with physical talent. And I mean, I think the downside here might be just that the offensive line, I think, is something that has a lot of questions with the Raiders, but there's going to be volume. I think this guy could touch the ball 275, 300 times this year, put together some numbers, and like, at least from a fantasy perspective, be a pretty productive guy.
You nailed it there. So like, I'm not a Zamir White guy. When you set your list and I said we'll brawl about some things, Zamir was like part of it. There's another one later that we'll get to, but Zamir, to me, from an opportunity standpoint, Joe, I think you're spot on. He's going to break out just because the opportunity is going to be there. Like, even if he absolutely stinks and he touches the ball 270 times, we'll call that a breakout, right? Because he'll probably go over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 5+ touchdowns. Yeah, that'd be a breakout considering where he's been in his career. So absolutely. So you nailed it from that standpoint. I'm just not a Zamir White guy. Maybe it's my pre-draft bias kicking in. I saw a guy that lacked vision, lacked burst, and couldn't make people miss. When I go into the Fantasy Points data suite and just see how Zamir White played on that 4-game stretch, it says the same things. 0.13 forced missed tackles per attempt last year. That ranked, near the bottom of the barrel as far as running backs go. Maybe he's a little more bursty than I thought he was, but I still see vision concerns on tape. But ultimately, the opportunity is going to be there. We do know that Antonio Pierce wants to be physical. And Zamir White is definitely physical. If you're going to say anything about him, it's that he will run with authority. He finishes his runs with power. I think he put up a really good yards after contact per carry last year. I think he was in the 2.9s, which is solid. I think that was top 10 among NFL running backs. So even though he's not making guys miss, he's still making the most out of those interactions and generating a lot of yards after contact. So I think that's solid for him. That with the opportunity should yield to pretty good results.
Yeah, and I think also, I know that this is not really a talking point that we get into with running backs, but he's had a nice incubation period of 2 years in the NFL where it's like, all right, you're behind Josh Jacobs, not getting a ton of opportunity. You feel like he's going to be ready. That's what I'm kind of getting at there. I know that a lot of running backs kind of enter the NFL in their prime, but he's still so young, 24 years old right now, with 2 years of experience, with not a lot of opportunity. Just feels prime to me, Brett Whitefield.
Yeah, how do you feel about their offensive line?
I'm concerned about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about it.
Too, but
yeah.
My running back, Joe, was one Tyjae Spears of the Tennessee Titans, player. I know they signed Tony Pollard and they gave him decent money. However, I still think Tyjae Spears winds up being the lead back somehow, some way. When I look at the fantasy points data suite and I see all the metrics, 10th in yards after contact per carry last year at 2.92, 20th in missed tackles forced at 0.21. He had 52 receptions as a rookie as well, and I think this is where he makes his money, right? Is in the pass game. 25% of his routes came wide or in the slot. I think that's also really comforting. That tells, I mean, I know it's a new coaching staff, but like when a guy is being used that way as a running back, that tells you he has a unique skill set, right? Like he's not just getting all those targets out of the backfield. He's moving in the slot and wide. They view him as a pass game weapon. He had 16 forced missed tackles on those 52 catches, and he ranked top 5 in yards after catch, 9.08. His efficiency on his receptions wasn't great, but when you consider the fact that he was targeted on average behind the line of scrimmage, makes you feel a lot better about that. And you see that 9.1 yards after carry or after catch. Feel really good about all those metrics. And then on tape, the guy has this weird ability to just teleport. Like his jump cut is disgusting, and he you see that elusiveness in the way he runs routes, sets up linebackers, gets them off balance, breaks the other way. You saw the scene. I think that was the last Senior Bowl you were at, right, Joe? Tyjae Spears year, and he had a couple routes against linebackers in the one-on-one drills that just made your mouth water. Just like, holy crap, this guy can absolutely destroy linebackers in the NFL. And so I feel really good about him being the lead back there. And I think with Derrick Henry gone, Tony Pollard being a similar player, I think he's going to break out.
Yeah, Tyjae Spears was so fun to watch at Tulane. And if I could spike the ball for a second, I remember I won a lot of money on this, just to be honest with you. The USC bowl game, and I predicted, I had some cash on this one, and it's like, I don't think USC can tackle Tyjae Spears. They can't tackle anybody anyways, but much less Tyjae Spears. And lo and behold, he goes out there and has 17 rushes, 205 yards, 4 touchdowns. And it's like, oh, yep, they can't tackle him. And the only concern with Tyjae Spears is kind of like some knee stuff that you feel like is maybe going to limit his career, but he's only year 2. He's 23 years old. I'm excited for him. And he was on my short list, to be honest with you.
The efficiency wasn't great. You do think maybe Tyjae could get some of that work where it's efficiency is not awesome, but they make it work with what they have.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to jump to receivers, but before we do, we have to take another quick break. Joe, receivers, I told you to pick 2. I already forgot one of who you picked, but why don't you throw the first guy out that you wanted to talk about?
I feel is this one that you don't like? Are you mad at what's that?
Yeah, I don't like this one.
You don't like this because you wanted to have it, or you don't like this one because you think it's a bad choice?
It wouldn't have been my choice.
Oh, well, let's go. Talking about Jahan Dotson from the Commanders. He's still here, man. First round pick 2 years ago. Plenty of flashes as a rookie. What'd you say?
Said should not have been a first round pick.
Well, hater. This is great. I'm glad that we have this ammunition going into the season so I can monitor this and remind you of how incorrect you were. But Jahan Dotson, whether Brett Whitefield believes it or not, was a first-round pick. And I thought he had plenty of flashes as a rookie, and you're expecting him to kind of like take that year 2 jump, and it didn't happen. And I don't really blame that on Jahan Dotson. I think that Washington offense last year was an absolute disaster. I think Eric Bieniemy was terrible. I thought what he asked Sam Howell to do was insane to me, like ignoring the run and just putting everything on Sam Howell and like no layups, just asking Sam Howell to read it and rip it. after coming out of a Phil Longo offense. I mean, it was disgusting. And so, yeah, no kidding that Jahan Dotson wasn't able to take a year or two jump, because I think between Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell, those guys were an absolute mess. Now, I'm concerned about the rookie quarterback situation with Jaden Daniels in Washington and maybe that limiting the production. But I also, and I hate to feel like I have like confidence or belief in Cliff Kingsbury because I've never had that, but I feel like at least structurally that offense will lend itself more favorably to taking advantage of space and maximizing more of what Jahan Dotson can be as a pass catcher. I think, I mean, go back to the tape at Penn State. I thought this dude was a dog, man. Like, his ability to just play above his weight class and be physical and win at the catch point. But I think he's also a good separator with good ball skills. I think he's dynamic, man. And I think that this new year is going to set up well for him to kind of recapture some of the hype that existed during his rookie season.
You make good points about the Washington offense. It was a disaster last year. The Sam Howell thing was gross at best. I do think, as much as I don't love Cliff Kingsbury, it is probably an upgrade to what they were working with last year, specifically to Jahan Dotson's skill set. I'm a little concerned, though. You do have to deal with the rookie QB, and then on top of that, I did not see a good separator in Jahan Dotson at the college level. He had an absurd amount of contested catch situations that weren't necessarily the QB's fault in college. I think he has route running chops, but I think he lacks that short area quickness and ability to separate late. That's what gets him in trouble. He did impress me as a rookie, though. I will say the rookie tape was actually pretty good. Last year, I did not feel that way. Even though the offense had a lot of issues, he struggled mightily, and there isn't really a redeeming stat to find on him that pertains specifically to him. The yards per route run was, bottom of the barrel. First downs per target, bottom of the barrel. First downs per route run, bottom of the barrel. So, like, these are all, really sticky metrics that kind of predict future success. And so I'm a little skittish on Dotson because of that. I will say there is one stat that makes me go, okay, that's interesting. And it doesn't really relate to him as much as it does the situation you talked about. And that is, he ranked 106th in catchable target rate, Joe, or catchable target percentage. Only 76.3% of his targets were catchable. So, I mean, just do basic math. If you can get him to league average there, how much more efficient does his season look? How much higher do those yards per route run get up? Maybe we need to come up with an adjusted yards per route run stat here where it's like
if based on catchable.
Yeah, if quarterback play was the same for every player, what would we say his yards per route run was? If we could find a way to adjust that, I'm sure Scott Barrett could figure it out. I think that'd be valuable because I want to know how many yards were left on the table because Jahan Dotson ranked 106th in catchable target percentage. That is absurd if you think about it. That's down there with like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, who played with Mariota and Heineke. So that's really, really bad. Sam Howell was not good last year. That is the one stat that gives me some pause. Like, maybe we can get this guy back to his rookie form. And I'm just not fully buying it. I think Terry McLaurin's good. Oh, there is one other good thing. Curtis Samuel departs. That's a lot of targets there. Luke McCaffrey comes in, but he's a rookie. Ben Sinnott comes in, but he's a rookie. So there is some extra weight to be lifted here, and maybe Dotson is the guy who lifts that weight, thus leading to a breakout.
Over under 800 yards, Jahan Dotson in 2024.
Is that your line, or is that an actual?
I just made it up. No, yeah, it's literally my line.
Gosh, I would defer to. You're going over?
Over.
I'll defer to whatever Chris Weck's projections say. And I haven't looked specifically at Dotson, and I will. I'm sure when we get off the pod here, but I'll defer to that. I'm inclined to say slightly under. I just think with the rookie quarterback, one who likes to run a lot, I think they're really going to emphasize the run game a little bit. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, Jaden Daniels, get that going. And then Terry will be the focal point of the pass game. So I'll go slightly under. Yeah.
We'll talk more Commanders here a little bit.
True. That is true. All right. I guess I'll throw my first receiver. And I think you're going to like this one. I wanted to get a chunk of this offense because there's a lot of vacated targets. 238 targets are vacated in the Buffalo Bills offense. And, I really want to get a chunk. You already claimed one of the players here. So I'm going to go with Khalil Shakir, wide receiver. Listen, from an advanced metric standpoint, there isn't anything to not like about this guy. And then you just watch the tape, Joe, and you're like, whoa, this dude can freaking play. And I go back to my pre-draft evaluation on him. I think he was my 5th highest scored receiver in that class. And remember, that's the Chris Olave class, Garrett Wilson, Jameson Williams, Drake London. That was a really good freaking class. And I loved Khalil Shakir. So I'm buying in, man. I think this is going to be a big year for him. Just some quick metrics to throw at you here. 68% of his catches were either a first down or touchdown last year. That's a pretty predictive stat. I know Scott Barrett doesn't love it that much. He's our metrics guy. I really like it. I think the trend lines that I've seen is when a wide receiver gets well over that 50% mark, that's when they start increasing that target volume significantly. He's up at 68%. Another one, first in catchable target percentage at 91%. So Josh Allen and him have a clear connection where for whatever that led the NFL 91%. I know Shakir wasn't a high volume guy. I'm sure with the larger sample, that number naturally creeps back toward average. But still, that, by the way, that was with an 8.6 ADOT, which is that's nothing to shake your head at. Among all players that were like above 85%, he by far had the highest ADOT. So I like that. First in yards per target. He led the entire NFL in yards per target. Again, great metric, semi-predictive. 2 yards per route run. Very predictive for a guy in his second year as a 5th round pick in a kind of a bit role at first. That's a really impressive number. I think all things are pointing to the sky for Khalil Shakir. I think he completely breaks out this year. Love what I saw. Oh, by the way, Joe Brady's favorite play, pass concept is shock, that play he ran at LSU with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Well, Khalil Shakir has been the focal point of shock, the iteration he runs at Buffalo. He gets all kinds of downfield targets on those slot fades or slot wheels. He's been awesome. I think he caught 6 passes, 20 yards or more downfield last year. I mean, he can do it all. I'm a big fan.
Yes, great analysis by you there, Brett Whitefield. What I love to point out about Khalil Shakir is how complete of a player he is. This isn't a guy that just runs choice routes from the slot, right? This is a down the field guy. This is a big time yards after the catch guy. Clutch. Josh Allen trusted him in big moments down the stretch. My favorite stat maybe on Khalil Shakir is that from week 7 on 60 less targets than Stephon Diggs, he had more receiving yards.
That is disgusting.
Like what? And I think that's such an important note to make when you think about the Bills transitioning away from Stephon Diggs. It's not like they transitioned away from 2020 Stephon Diggs. It was the one that couldn't produce more than Khalil Shakir on 60 more targets from week 7 on. That's insane. Opportunity is going to be there for him in a big way. I think he can have, I don't want to get too crazy, but like if you think about what Amon-Ra St. Brown means to that Lions offense, I think I could see similar things from Khalil Shakir.
Ooh, I love that. And you know what? You can make the argument Shakir's a more dynamic player because his ability downfield is probably a little bit superior to Amon-Ra St.
Brown. Calm down, Brett.
I love Amon-Ra. I'm just saying, Shakir. Shakir can win vertically. Now
I know. On those slot fades, that was a hell of a call out by you there. I mean, I went back and watched his target reel a couple weeks ago, and you see those moments, Miami game against the Chargers, and even some of the off script stuff. Josh started to really go to him, and this offense wants to be middle of the field centric. I think when you think about the bodies that they brought to play on the outside of the perimeter, to kind of free up Kincaid and Shakir and Cook, and where those guys really win in the middle of the field. Opportunity is going to be there. I think those will be your 2 leading target getters this season for the Bills, and that's no small deal. This is a Josh Allen offense. This is a very prolific offense over the last 4 years. Vacated opportunity, guys stepping into it. You look at Khalil Shakir, and he's going to eat.
He beat Sauce Gardner for like a 40-piece in the Jets game. I mean,
yeah,
enough said.
He sure did. That was a hell of a throw. Great route. Dalton Kincaid took out 3 guys on a block, just catch and run. That was.
Are we doing Lockdown Bills right now or first read?
Brother, I'll tell you, I'm enjoying what's going on here. I'm enjoying this.
All right, throw out your second wide receiver, and then we'll do mine.
Yeah, my second wide receiver is Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims from the Denver Broncos, who reminds me a lot of Emmanuel Sanders, who Broncos fans should know quite well. I'll tell you what, one of my frustrations for, I guess, the 2023 season was watching Russell Wilson play football. And boy, oh boy, did I think one of the guys that didn't benefit at all from that was Marvin Mims. And it's crazy to me because Russell Wilson should have gotten Marvin Mims far more involved. 17 yards per catch as a rookie. Not enough opportunity. I think he had like 100 yards in week 2. It's like, bro, did you not like that? You didn't enjoy that, Russ? You didn't want to go more there with the football? I love the skill set. I think like I said, there's a lot of Emmanuel Sanders here in terms of I think the separation ability, I think the ball skills, kind of a smaller guy but still playing big, being able to win vertically. There's so much to like here. And Denver's now said goodbye to Jerry Jeudy. There's vacated targets there for sure. I don't trust anything with Tim Patrick. I think Cortland Sutton, his presence benefits Marvin Mims. And I think with the new quarterbacks that are just going to run the offense, man, that's such an obvious thing to say. But like when you think about just Denver, like just having a quarterback that will run the offense, I don't know who it's going to be, whether it's Bo Nix or Jarrett Stidham, probably not Zach Wilson, but those guys are going to run the offense. And I think it's going to be such a benefit to Marvin Mims, who showcased himself as a very dynamic playmaker as a rookie, albeit in limited opportunities. And I'm excited to see that really kind of flesh itself out this year and him to produce, because I was a big fan of him coming out of Oklahoma.
I agree with everything you just said. I love Marvin Mims coming out of Oklahoma as well. I was just going to stand on my draft evaluation. I thought he was awesome. You nailed it with Emmanuel Sanders, another guy who's a little undersized but plays bigger than his frame for sure. Ball skills are incredible for his build. In fact, he's got a little Troy Franklin in him. Actually, he's a little bit more explosive.
Oh, I like him more than Troy Franklin.
I do too. I'm just saying from a style standpoint, like these guys are dogs that can run routes, and I just think Mims is a supercharged version of Franklin, a little more physical. Doesn't get knocked around off his route. Top of his break a little. He doesn't do that the way that Franklin does. So I think Mims steps in as probably their eventual wide receiver 1 this year. I don't know when it happens. But it happens at some point. So
you said wide receiver 1.
I think he should be unquestioned.
Love it. Yeah. Here for it. That would validate my breakout call right now. So
for sure.
Thank you very much. Yeah, let's do it.
I wish I had more data on him too. With the small sample last year, we just don't really have much.
17 catches or something like that as a rookie, or maybe less. Yeah, it wasn't great.
All right, my second receiver is Arizona Cardinals' Michael Wilson, another Senior Bowl favorite of mine. I kind of was feeling really down about his rookie year. I know some of the separation data we have coming out isn't great.
I've heard you talk about this, so I'm considering me very surprised that you're going down this angle right now.
So I don't just tee up takes to have and then without actually being educated. So I went back and watched some tape last night. I'm laying in bed late, wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about for the show, going through players, got to Michael Wilson, watched 4 or 5 games, and I just came away just blown away at the route running, the attention to detail for his age, like being a rookie, and then also his size and archetype as a player. I was amazed. The body control is excellent. I think back to the Senior Bowl practices we got to see. The work ethic is there. He seems like a great kid. And now you're getting him away from being the wide receiver 1, where you got Marvin Harrison Jr. to take away most of the coverage. Wilson's going to be matched up against, a team's likely number 2 CB or worse. He's got a real opportunity to be good. A lot of vacated targets there as well, with Hollywood Brown taking off. I feel really good about this. I already mentioned the first down to touchdown ratio being important to me for predicting more targets. 67% of his catches last year, first downs or touchdowns. He was middle of the pack in first downs for route run, which is another sticky metric. These both point in positive directions for me. I think as he gets used to the NFL speed, he will start to separate at a higher level. But the ball skills and ability to win at the catch point are there for sure. And I think he could be a really nice number 2 to Marvin Harrison, number 1.
I'm surprised you went this angle. It certainly has me perk up a little bit about his prospects this year. And I mean, they need him, right? They're going to need him to really be a stabilizing player for this offense. And we know they're going to run the ball well in Arizona, but to me, the ceiling of that offense is going to be how good's Marvin Harrison Jr. as a rookie. And then of course, Michael Wilson and what type of year 2 jump he can make. And I think that would be monumental. I'd love to see it. I know that he has some fans out there, and I'm glad that you went back to the tape there because that informs me a little bit better based on some of our previous conversations about Michael Wilson.
Yeah, so I love data, obviously, considering what I do for a living. But data without context is sort of meaningless in a lot of ways, and so I didn't feel good just like citing a bunch of negative stats and having that in my head. So that's why I wanted to go back to the tape, and I think there's some context to be applied there with that offense and the way it was ran and what he was being asked to do as well. I think the best is yet to come for him. So.
And we originally went into this with only choosing one receiver. And you're like, this morning, you're like, let's do two.
Yeah.
You must have wanted to get that Michael Wilson nuggets in there.
That's what it was. I had Shakir locked and loaded and was like, you know what? I also want to do Michael Wilson. So let's ride. Tight ends. I want to get into your tight end, and I know who it is already. I'm really excited about this conversation. Before we do, though, we do have to take another break. Joe, your final player here, tight end. I'm sure you're excited about this, so why don't you just let it loose?
Dalton Kincaid, Bills. You talked about the opportunity of vacated targets in Buffalo. Dalton Kincaid's going to get a lot of these as a second-year player, a first-round pick. And he had a really good rookie season. And so maybe this is a little bit falling into your Jordan Love thing and where I kind of picked a player that's already broken out, all right? But I think that, like, the jump, he could come close to doubling his yards. So last year as a rookie, 73 catches on 91 targets, 673 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 8 catches, 104 yards, and touchdown in 2 playoff games. To give you an idea of that production as a rookie, that's the 4th most receptions ever by a rookie tight end in the history of the NFL. That's the 10th most receiving yards ever for a tight end in the history of the NFL. And I know that his success as a rookie is overshadowed by the better year that Sam Laporta had in Detroit. And I think the usage and opportunity was really different for Sam Laporta. I think I'm not taking any away from Sam Laporta. He's awesome. He's a really good player. So is Dalton Kincaid. Week 7 on, Dalton Kincaid led the Bills in receiving yards. You saw the way that he was used really change from early in the season, kind of a dump and run guy. Put him in space, ask him to create after the catch. He's good after the catch. But then as the season moved along, you saw more of the downfield opportunities show up and him make some plays. And you listen to Dalton Kincaid talk about his offseason, and he highlighted 2 things that really get me excited. Number one, he's like, yeah, last offseason I was working back from a back injury. So you always talk about that first offseason from your college season to your rookie year and how you're not really getting ready to play football. You're getting ready to do 40-yard dashes and jumps and interview and all that type of stuff. So not only is he not dealing with that, but he's solely focused on playing a tight end for the Buffalo Bills. But then also he talked about his primary focus has been being in the weight room so that he could beat man coverage better. And I thought if there was a big growth area that was necessary for Dalton Kincaid, it was that, hey, I think there were times where he maybe got stuck on the line a little bit and some of that contact at the second level when getting into those deeper routes, he didn't necessarily have the technique and physicality to break through a lot of that. I think that's a great thing for him to be working on this offseason. And if that shows up, I think he'll be even more productive. And so, yeah, I think he was really good as a rookie, but I think this is the type of guy that could push for 120 targets in year 2. And if that's the case, based on the efficiency that we've already seen from him and the skill set, he's going to have big time numbers for an NFL tight end.
Yes, and that's why I threw the flag. This dude is already broken out.
Oh, is that what you were doing?
He was throwing
the flag at me.
Throwing the flag. This is your Jordan Love. He's already there. He's already broken out. When you put up historical numbers, it's safe to say you've already broken out. However, I still love the call. 238 vacated targets. What he did last year as a rookie without really a full offseason. And now the top 2 pass catchers on the team are gone. He's gonna blow the thing open. It's insane. I'm so glad you mentioned the transformation from dump and run tight end, kind of like that Dalton Schultz, Jake Ferguson variety to now the downfield work. He finished the season with a 7.2 ADOT from week 7 through 18. I know you mentioned week 7 being the turning point. That's the same turning point I used when I went through his data. 7.2 ADOT. That was 5th among tight ends. That's a big boy number.
Yeah.
That's nothing to shake your head at. That is very few tight ends get over 7 in general, and he was at 7.2 as a rookie. Other metrics from that week 7 through 18 time period: 8th in target percentage for tight ends, 18.9%; 8th in targets per route run, 0.24; 8th in yards per route run, 185; 10th in yards per target over expectation. He did that while running about 60% of his routes from the slot. So he is a weapon. I mean, these are really insane efficiency metrics for a rookie tight end. I mean, he went toe-to-toe with Sam Laporta the last half of the season as far as all of that goes. So you're 100% right. Sam Laporta was great. Dalton Kincaid is also freaking great. Love this call. He might surpass Laporta in production this year just because of the opportunity he's going to have. Where with the Lions, they're a run-first team. They still have Amon-Ra. J-Mo's about to break out. He's another one I thought about doing, by the way. But man, Kincaid is sky's the limit for this kid, man. He's awesome.
Thank you. I mean, it's been awesome having this episode of Locked On Bills to discuss the gospel of Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid while everyone's concerned about losing Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis.
To me, anytime you're trying to predict breakout players, though, it's like, okay, well, who are some of the good offenses? What do they need? Right?
Yeah.
So Bills, great offense that lost a ton of targets. It's just simple math for me. Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid coming through. So my last player, we don't got to spend a lot of time on him because we have no data. Similar to the Marvin Mims. Well, I should say limited data, and that's Green Bay tight end Luke Musgrave. I wanted to get a piece of this offense. I partner him with Jordan Love as my breakout candidates. Luke Musgrave, when he played last year, was freaking awesome. Yards per route run were up there. Just the eye test too. Go watch it. I know there was a point in the season around Thanksgiving where people were like, "Oh, Tucker Kraft is taking that tight end 1 job," when Musgrave was sitting on the sideline with a concussion. Well, as soon as the second Luke Musgrave came back, that was out the window. Tucker Kraft was relegated back to the bench. Luke Musgrave took over as their tight end 1 again, and he just looks awesome. Now, I know health has been a major concern going back to freshman year of college, right? But if this dude can stay healthy with the way Jordan Love is playing right now, I think he's going to be absolutely awesome. One of the freakiest athletes at tight end you will ever see. 22.5 miles an hour on the GPS last year as a tight end is freaking ridiculous. Not real. I wanted to get one of these Green Bay guys, one of the receivers. I thought about Watson, but he had that rookie year that was pretty good. Thought about Jaden Reed, but ultimately Luke Musgrave was my pick here.
I'm a dynasty owner of Luke Musgrave, so I enjoyed listening to you discuss that, but I'm also a dynasty owner of Tucker Kraft, and it's very annoying to have to roster both of them. You know what I mean? So I'd love for Luke Musgrave to be healthy and for me to not have to deal with rostering 2 tight ends from the same team. But that mix in Green Bay, man, it's real. It's going to be fun.
A lot of young guns out there, man. They're loaded with young pass catchers. It's crazy.